literally like woke up one morning after I was kind of recovering from all that and was like, service, like it just popped back in my head and kind
Wow.
of like is it too late? And I had this idea like I had missed that boat, like it was the gap year thing.
Hmm.
Um, and I looked, and in fact, most AmeriCorps programs outside of NCCC, I think, there isn't an age limit on them. And I actually found Maggie's place. Fingers crossed.
Of course, we've made it back with another AmeriCorps alum who is now serving with or working with an AmeriCorps program and recruiting for the next generation of AmeriCorps alums. So if you've happened across this podcast and you're like, Amera, what? So welcome to AmeriCorps Connections podcast. My name is Nicki Fiocco, and I'm the brainchild behind this podcast. And it was really built out of my desire after my national service year and after serving as a director of a state and national program and a couple commissions that I really wanted to continue my connections with AmeriCorps members. And I wanted to expand it beyond just what I could do in my 9 to 5. So now I'm having conversations with AmeriCorps alums across the country, internationally, and learning about what they did during their service year. And most importantly, kind of what they're up to now. Like we all can bond over a service year, but I think something that's really important for us to realize is that after a service year, you can go on to do pretty much anything that you want, especially if you've built that resilience and you've gone through that service year. So I'm taking some time out of the regular content for this podcast, and we're doing a recruitment extravaganza for 2024. And this is really my charge to the people that are listening to this. I want to know what you're doing after you listen. Like, I hope you're so inspired that you get in touch with Katie or you get in touch with any of the other people that I've interviewed, Caleb, any of the other folks that I've interviewed in this series. And you're like, I want to do a service year, or I know somebody that wants to do a service year. So, before we get started, I wanted to say thank you to Sharon Tewksbury Bloom and from Do Good, Be Good and her all AmeriCorps alum staff that support on editing and production and marketing of this podcast. Thank you so much. We're turning out these episodes super quickly right now during the recruitment series. So, I don't know if they knew what they were signing up for when we started the series. So they're all coming out soon. And then, of course, Dan Medevere from Time or Money Services, who was really the first one to step up and say, you got some cool content. I want to support you. He's an NCCC alum. He doesn't necessarily want to be on the podcast, but if you're listening to this on Spotify, which Katie said that she was, or Apple Podcast or wherever you're listening to it, thank Dan for that. So before we get started, no, I already did all the announcements. So Katie, I'm so excited that you joined us for this new series of recruitment extravaganza for 2024, and we're super excited to learn about your stream of service. How did you find out about AmeriCorps? How did you get involved, and what was the program that you served in?
Sure. So first off, thank you so much for having me. It's really cool to be a part of this, and I got to listen to some of the other podcasts, and it's just amazing to see where all the other AmeriCorps alumni are at and up to now, and see all the diversity of programs. So yeah, I'm Katie. I served at Maggie's Place in Phoenix, Arizona, from 22 to 2023. We are a direct service program. We serve in Arizona, we serve pregnant moms who are experiencing homelessness. And our AmeriCorps primarily live in the homes with the moms and take care
Mhm.
of the day-to-day operations of the home. So that could be grocery shopping, that's maintaining the cars, all the nitty-gritty, like taking care of a house. So I was the house manager at our house here in Phoenix. And I, managed the house and then also provided emotional support and almost a sort of friendship to the moms in the home and supporting them, whatever that means to them, and meeting them where they're at during this really vulnerable time of pregnancy and then their child's first year of life. Coming to Maggie's Place, well, for me, it was a kind of unique journey. I had heard about AmeriCorps, I believe, from a college professor at Boston College, but I did graduate in 2016 and just decided at that time in my life to stay in Boston and get a full-time job. So I actually worked in corporate America for 6 years. I was a data analyst. And then I, through the COVID pandemic, was dealing with some health issues and just felt like um, I literally like woke up one morning after I was kind of recovering from all that and was like, service, like it just popped back in my head and kind
Wow.
of like is it too late? And I had this idea like I had missed that boat, like it was the gap year thing.
Mhm.
Um, and I looked, and in fact, most AmeriCorps programs outside of NCCC, I think, there isn't an age limit on them. And I actually found Maggie's place through the AmeriCorps portal. I was just digging around AmeriCorps.gov, and Arizona alphabetical order A came up, and what stuck out to me was this idea of it being a community of women supporting each other. I felt like I had benefited from community, especially community of like women, my family, my friends, my whole life, and really wanted to pay that forward. Um, and plus, I was like, when else am I going to go to the desert? And when else am I going to, have housing? We're kind of unique in that we provide housing. And yeah, I don't think I would even held a baby before coming to Maggie's place. So it wasn't like a natural transition from being a data analyst, but um, I learned so much and it was truly the best decision I could have made for myself.
That's wild that you just woke up one day and you were like service. And
Yeah.
and then like you would think that somebody that's a little like, I don't know, do you know your astrology signs? Do you have any signs in Cancer?
I'm a Capricorn. I don't know the other ones. I'm not.
Okay, okay, okay. I'm thinking there might be some like heavy Cancer in there, maybe, but very nurturing. But you didn't know it, right? Like it might be your moon
Yeah.
sign or your rising sign where you're like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be. But to wake up and so many people that I've interviewed and spoken to, they sometimes they kind of know what they want to do to getting into service,
Yeah.
but a lot of times they just take a leap of faith. And it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know why this is my calling. And that seems like a really big responsibility. And I also just
Yeah.
want to double click on what you said about like um, the age range. Yes, there's some AmeriCorps programs that are early 20s, and AmeriCorps is really they're celebrating our 30th year, and we're really making that shift on like yes, it's for young folks that not are quite sure what they want to do in their life. But if anybody listens to this podcast, my story, like I served in my 30s, and that's when 10 years later I'm serving in the governor's office on service and volunteers and in their commission, and I'm like, how did this happen? um
Right.
so you just don't know where your service is going to take you. And it's not like I started my AmeriCorps year thinking, well, I want to work for state service commissions or I want to be a director of a program. I remember sitting next to the director of my program, looking at her going, I could never do what she does. And then the next thing you know, I'm
Exactly.
calling her up going, hey, Maureen, I have some questions for you. It was like wild. So,
Yeah.
so tell us a little bit about what you did. I mean, that I love like house manager, like tell us what you did during your service year. Hey, I want to let you know about an event that Goodwill Northern New England is doing as part of their efforts to build a community of AmeriCorps alums everywhere. On July 18th at 5 p.m. Eastern, AmeriCorps Vista alum Maya Williams shares the story of her service, their best writing tips, and her biggest tips to adjusting to life after service. During their service at Equity Maine, Maya developed programming for LGBTQ plus youth. She then became a published poet and Portland's seventh poet laureate. If you are ready to join a community of AmeriCorps alumni, then don't delay. Register for this free event today by clicking in the show notes.
Yeah. So, right, total leap of faith, just packed my bags, moved across the country, and then moved into a home. So Maggie's Place, we operate 5 homes that house between 4 and 11 moms, and AmeriCorps placed at just one of those homes. And it is that it feels like a home, and we have our bedroom, and it's just our place to live, and the moms and the babies as well. And it's to really build that community together because you're um, with the same people, your teammates, and a lot of the moms stay for, I think our average length of stay is like 9 months. So it really becomes this family. And our job as AmeriCorps is to foster that sense of community, that sense of safety and welcome, so that a mom can come in and say, not have to worry about where she's going to sleep, if she's going to have access to a healthy meal, and just feel like comfortable, and also beyond that, like have fun, have some joy, um, because that is so important, I think, for everybody, but especially for new moms, or moms with little ones, to just like, you know, have joy and have that sense of you're not alone. And so really like some of the tangible things we did, like if we're in charge of the volunteers coming in and out of the home, responding to any emergencies that happen, helping with donations that come in and getting the things that moms need. If a mom is like wanting to make a meal and just has her hands full with her baby, like you can, hold them for a little bit or cook a meal together. We provide a lot of rides to different appointments, to classes at our Family Success Center, just like our hub of services. Um, and yeah, just like be a listening ear and emotional support. And, sometimes it's doesn't really feel like a job. Sometimes it's Friday night and you're having a movie night. And sometimes you're
Yeah.
working on a puzzle with a mom, and that's really cool because that's like part of our job, is to like just be present in our community space, be a safe, welcoming presence so that moms can focus on their goals and what they want to do.
So what kind of training, I can imagine, you going into this, I don't know, did you have children before you went into this?
No,
Yeah.
no
So it
children, and
like,
I'm like, yeah, not
right.
a
So
lot of
what
experience with
kind,
babies.
right. Like I remember bringing my son home from the hospital, and we're driving, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I have a child in the back of my car. Like, who let
Yeah,
me leave the hospital with this thing? You
I
know what I mean?
know.
So what kind of like training and preparation does somebody get to before they kind of set forth on their journey?
Yeah, so first off, I will just say that this is the greatest empathy building journey for mom, for like understanding moms. I'm like, oh wow, this is a lot. I'm so grateful for her now. I mean, I always was, but even more so now.
Yes.
Understand it. Um, but yeah, we have a ton of training. So when you first start, we have general onboarding training, pretty much all during the day. And then if you start in the month of August, when our bigger cohorts start, you'll actually overlap with the AmeriCorps who are in the homes currently. So you can kind of get used to your house, but then they can also like show you the ropes and all the um, specifics of that house, and get that hands-on training and just like shadowing them, and then just starting to do it with them there to support you. And then what that training looks like, we do get CPR first aid certified. We also get mental health first aid certified, which is hugely impactful in terms of just like general de-escalations and having like open, clear communications and conflict resolution. We got trauma informed certification. We learn like infant care basics, the baby basics, like the shushes and yeah, all the comforting babies, and you know just really general like how to respond to different things that may come up, so you don't feel like you're so thrown into it. um and then throughout the year, every Monday we have training from 10 to 12 pretty much. So that training may be something that's been scheduled, or it can be part of the house manager's role is to kind of talk to your team and see, what do you think we need? Like, what is going on in the home and what do we need more support for? And then um, our AmeriCorps supervisors will like put together a training around that. So it's constant training, constant reiteration.
That's amazing. What is something that you carried with you throughout your service year, that you still kind of lean on, or you remember, or you just go, ha, during that you carry on with you now?
like a motto, I feel like I like always say we can do hard things. I know it's like so cliche, but I think something that surprised me was just all of these when we were training all these things. I was like, well, what if this happens? And what if this happens? And then something happens. And I was able to respond and like just surprising myself with being able to do that and do it effectively. Yeah, effectively and like have hard conversations. We also say like clear is kind. So like I feel like
Yes.
I take those into any professional experience or even personal, like just you can do hard things and clear is kind.
I think that's from Radical Candor, I think.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So did you go right into working for Maggie's Place after your service here, or did you do something in between?
Yeah, so I moved to Phoenix and just thought this would be a 1 year stint. And I moved from Boston and I thought I would go back and kind of return to what I was doing before. But I just fell in love with working at Maggie's Place and the moms in particular, but also AmeriCorps and that sense of like service and civic responsibility in general. I really resonated with in like the communities that I was able to build with other AmeriCorps. So I ended up staying at Maggie's Place. I did do a stint in marketing and development, and then just in general for Maggie's Place, and then a role for recruiting and marketing opened up on the AmeriCorps team, and I just felt like I wasn't done yet, and wanted to be closer to that side of things. So I ended up taking that. So that is what I do now. I recruit for incoming corps to do what I did last year.
And where do you focus most of your recruitment on?
Like who are we recruiting or
Yeah, like where do you go to recruit AmeriCorps members that might be interested in doing some type of service like this?
yeah, so that's a really great question because I think it's evolved a lot in the last couple of years. In the past, we were very present and still are at like college fairs across the country, especially at schools that are like known for service and those service fairs, especially in the fall timeline. But now we've kind of expanded and are looking at all different avenues and really trying to get out into our local community as well to reach people who may know Maggie's Place but may not know about AmeriCorps opportunities. And you know, talking about it to be able to transform your own community, which is pretty cool. We are seeing more people from Arizona applying, which is awesome. And, you know, going to like really getting out in the community, going to cafes, churches, community centers, gyms, and kind of talking about the roles, which is also cool for me because it's not just talking about Maggie's Place, but AmeriCorps in general, which sometimes people know the Peace Corps but don't know AmeriCorps, so it's fun
Yep.
to, you know, talk up both sides of it.
So one of the things I was thinking about when you were talking just now about recruitment was maybe um the attraction to older folks, right?
Yeah,
Because we have AmeriCorps Senior, but I
right.
feel like AmeriCorps Senior, like some people are senior, but they're not feeling so senior. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? They're like,
exactly.
I'm
Yeah.
not doing AmeriCorps Senior. But it seems like something like this might be really attractive and feel super good if somebody who's maybe a little bit more, I like to say, seasoned or lightly
Yeah.
sautéed in their life, that's like I can provide a little bit of support.
Yeah.
What have you seen? What's the age demographic that you've seen?
Yeah. So last year when I came in, I'm now 30. So when I came in at 28, I was the oldest like AmeriCorps member. But then we had later in the year we had someone who was in her 60s join, and you know she just moved for a few months to join us and really wanted to do that. And we do have a volunteer base who is more of that age and you know looking to say, hey, this is not your only opportunity, there are AmeriCorps opportunities. And this year we've had a ton of applications actually from older adults or just you know not first year out of college and very you know diverse in their experience and what they're looking for and where they're coming from, which is really cool. And I think contributes to a more powerful team too, because then they may have lived experience just like in life, but also maybe they're a mom or just can talk to other experiences that maybe someone who's 22 cannot. So, and not to say anything against them. I serve with amazing young women, and they bring so much young, fun energy and taught me all these words that I did not know. But, yeah, it's just really cool to like see a different diversity of folks applying.
I think the intergenerational aspect of some of the programming is so important. That's one of the things that I really appreciated when I was serving with Volunteer Maryland, and then also when I was director of the program. I saw this intergenerational impact where it was just subtle, right? The
Right.
the 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 more seasoned members were kind of like, oh, well, let's look at your, emotional intelligence and how you're actually responding to
Yeah,
things. And some of
exactly.
the newer individuals that were coming into the program were able to say, like, you can do Facebook, like you can reach out and
Yeah,
recruit members like online, like you can do it. And it was really
yeah,
neat to see that, like, we didn't necessarily program for that. It was just something
right.
where people were supporting each other. And I think that's something that in society, we could do a whole other thing about
I
that. But in
know.
society, we just don't intermingle, right? Like,
Yeah,
kids go to school,
yeah,
20 to 30 to 40-year-olds go to work, and 50-plus-year-olds go to senior centers. Like, that's not really the best place for a community to thrive. So, love the idea of like recruiting older members to support younger folks that are going through some of the stuff, and then also to support the cohort as well.
yeah, yeah. I lost you for a second there, but I think I great support then for the rest of the cohort. And that was really beautiful to see too. It's like, just the storytelling and the connections that we made with some of the older members. And yeah, it was special.
So what's the timeline and what's the recruitment process? So let's look at the timeline first, and then where's the best way for folks to look for opportunities?
Yeah, so we are currently recruiting for our live-in team from 2024, 2025. So typically we run from in August to end of July with option to stay for the following August to train incoming members. Since we are pushing up against that, depending on when this airs, we do onboarding rolling recruitment. We just try to get as many folks as we can to start in August so that they're onboarding together. They can get trained by previous members and they can start working on building that community together. But we've had a lot of members start later or start in January, and they're able to, it is a very open, welcome community, I'd say. So they're able to integrate um, just fine and get all that training still. Um, so yeah, we are recruiting for August 1st right now. And if you want to apply, you can go to maggiesplace.org/AmeriCorps, and we have an online application with some short answer questions on there. Or you could also find us on the AmeriCorps website, the portal. And we're also on like Handshake and on Indeed and on Service Year and all the
Nice.
places. So yeah, you can find us a lot of different ways. Yeah.
That's awesome. And will they be reaching directly out to you, or will there be somebody else that might be in
Yeah.
touch with them?
Yeah. So the email is AmeriCorps@maggiesplace.org. But typically I'm the one who is answering that, but someone's always looking at that. So
Love that. If you could
yeah.
give folks, I don't know, one sort of inspirational thing about serving at Maggie's Place and then also just serving in AmeriCorps, what would you kind of close things out with? What message would you
Hmm.
close out with?
Think something that always strikes me is the power of community and connection. Even when we take it for granted and don't realize that, even if you know it's not a direct path to an outcome isn't exactly what you were expecting, there's still a mark made, and just, building that community and that connection and that love. And that goes both ways. I think I benefited from that just as much as anyone I quote unquote served benefited from that. And that inspires me to keep going and keep trying every single day. And I learned all of that from national service, and I've learned more skills than those soft skills, especially, than I did in my 6 years in the corporate world. So I learned, a lot of tangible things there. But um, one year, they say 1 year of AmeriCorps experience is like 10 years life experience.
Oh, wow.
Really
Yeah,
resonate with that. So
for
not in
sure.
a scary way, but in a wisdom way, I'd say.
Yeah,
So
like in a personal development way, right? Like one of my
yeah,
one of my mottos was always like you could like, and I learned it from yoga. You can fail flamboyantly in AmeriCorps. Like
yeah,
you can just
yeah,
really kind of crash and burn and be like, somebody please help me, and we're gonna help you get back up, and we want you to
yeah,
get back up and finish your service year and do what needs to be done. But
yeah,
there's a space for everything. I was
yeah,
also going to just ask too, so you've been with Maggie's Place just for a little while. Um, do
yeah,
you ever stay connected with some of the babies that come through there? Like I can imagine you're like, oh my
yeah.
God, they're in kindergarten now.
Yeah, that's actually one of the most fun things about still working here, is seeing the moms I lived with come to so once you're a Maggie's Place mom, you're always a Maggie's Place mom, and you can come for classes and programs and services at our main office in Central Phoenix. And so I run into some of the moms I lived with, which is awesome, but then seeing their babies come in, and I actually saw one today, and she was an infant when I last saw her, and she was running around and pattering left and right. And I was like, it's so, so special to, be there during that first year of their life and being part of that. And then later to see them walking around and talking. And we have Maggie's Place babies who are like in college now, because we've been around since 2000.
That's
So
so
even
cool.
beyond that. So we are starting like programs for teenagers. So yeah, it's very special.
I was gonna say, a couple other podcasts back that I was talking about, like, sometimes you kind of think about like that you want to move on after being a
Yeah.
director or program manager of an AmeriCorps program, but sometimes it's hard because you're always on this circular thing where you're recruiting for new members and you're like, well, I just want to make sure
Yeah.
they get off the ground, and then you're like,
Yeah.
let me just make sure the program's good. I can't imagine the draw to stay in the program when you're
Yeah.
dealing with like human beings that have like, oh, I don't know, a 90-year lifespan where you're like, let me just see where
Yeah.
they are at 5. Like, that's so crazy to me. I couldn't even imagine. That's so funny. So
But
I
the
don't know if
draw to
you,
like come back and when you're working with people. Yeah.
yeah, I can't imagine like if you were ever like, I think I'm gonna move on to something else. Like when? When do you
Yeah,
do
I
it? When
know.
everybody's in
It
middle school.
is it is really hard to move on. Yeah, because you are very much part of those lives. And even, with your other AmeriCorps team, you become such a community. And that transition period, which is now coming up for our members serving this year, is was brutal, but also really beautiful, just to like have made those connections. Um, I've learned so much from the moms I lived with, and will always remember them and always think about them, and hopefully I get to see them right now, which is really amazing and special. I'm so grateful for that. Yeah, it's cool.
I think the last question that just came up for me, what do AmeriCorps members generally do after they serve with Maggie's Place?
Yeah, that's a great question, because it really runs the gamut. So I think you were talking about like who we recruiting for. We definitely like look at people who are interested in the social, work, psychology, human child development. But we also have gotten folks like this year. We have one of our AmeriCorps. She was a CPA or going for a CPA. She studied accounting, and so we have kind of the whole gamut, and she'll probably go back to that. And then we have a lot of women who are pre-med and looking at med school, physician's assistant, social work. I probably, and I know a lot of other people kind of go like the policy route.
Mm.
Um, or, you know, how can I get back to data in some form? Don't know, but kind of, yeah,
Well,
all across the
sometimes
board.
policy is data,
Yeah, I
right?
know policy is data. That's how I'm
Yeah.
going that route.
Yeah.
Yeah. But with that connection, I want the connection to the people I, you know, serve and everything. So yeah, all across. And then we actually, one really cool thing that I think is neat about Maggie's Place is now we have 4 Maggie's Place alumni working at our main office full-time staff positions. So we had myself and one other person join after my year, and then we just had someone finish her service, and then she'll be onboarding as our family support specialist. So it's really cool to like see that growth and that path from AmeriCorps member to then staff member. Um, and yeah, shows like how much you do get, you know, included in the main organization and everything.
Well, this is probably one of the most unique opportunities that I've heard during this recruitment series. Everything has been so much like, oh my gosh, that's something I want to do. But this is something that like is truly, truly unique. Like, we did have a
Yeah.
program in Maryland, where there was something similar to this, but I just find this like
Mhm.
super heartfelt, very
So immersive.
Cancerian.
Yeah.
Yes, and just immersive and just Cancerian and
Yeah.
very lunar. And I'm
I
just so glad that I
have
know
to look
about
these
this.
things up now.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You're gonna have to put some pictures around. Um, but this is
Yeah.
fantastic. And if folks who are listening to this, if this is something you're interested in, I don't know if you heard it at the beginning, but they provide housing. So if you're listening to this in New York
Yeah.
and you're like, oh wait, this is something that I want to do, like reach out because you just have to move your stuff,
Yeah.
right? And they have housing, and this could be something
Yeah.
that could be super impactful. So Katie, thank you so much. Thank you so much for jumping on the
Thank you.
opportunity to um chat with me and take a chance with me to nurture your story and walk through this
Thank you.
recruitment and
Yeah.
everything, and we'll have all of the connections in the show notes. Very last things to
Yeah. And can I
say.
just,
Yeah.
oh yeah, can I just say if you are interested in like learning more, you can also, if you have Instagram, follow us at serve with MP, SERVEWITH And that kind of runs through like all of the service and what it looks like and all of the also fun things we get into. Exploring Arizona is one of the best parts about serving here as well. It
That's
is
awesome.
beautiful.
It is.
Yeah, so
It's
thank
definitely
you.
beautiful. I visited a few times. So thank you again, Katie. Thank you all for listening to another AmeriCorps
You.
Connections podcast. And we will definitely be back with another AmeriCorps alum recruiting for AmeriCorps programs. So stay tuned. We're wrapping up this series soon. I'll try to push this one out earlier since you are recruiting for August 1st. So thank you all, and we'll be back. Take care.
Thank you.